We have here a quadratic equation, and whenever we have a quadratic equation, we could solve it one of two ways. We could solve it by factoring. Actually, we could solve it in more than two ways, but the most common ways are by factoring, or a way that works every single time, which is the quadratic formula. And of course, the quadratic formula is this. Now remember, if you have this part and it's negative, you get two imaginary solutions, two imaginary roots. If this part is 0, then you get one real root, and if this part is bigger than 0, you get two real solutions. That's something to pay attention to, because sometimes they ask you questions that require you to know that. Okay. So let's solve this problem. Maybe we can factor. If not, then I'll use the quadratic formula. I might solve it both ways anyway. But first, I need to get this into standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. That's just everything to one side. When you have quadratics, meaning there's an x squared involved, and that's the highest degree, when you have that, you get everything to one side and 0 to the other. So I'm going to subtract 4x over, remember you do the opposite, and then I'm going to write it in order. 2x squared, and then my x term, minus 4x, and then minus 1. That equals 0, because those canceled out. Fantastic. And then I do this times this, that's negative 2. Can I factor this? So what times what gives you negative 2, but adds it together to get negative 4? 2 times 1 is the only thing. So this I actually can't factor on this one. So I must use my quadratic formula. But I'm already set up because A is 2, B is negative 4, and C is negative 1. So I'm going to say x equals the opposite of B, right? Negative 4 is just 4. Plus or minus the square root of B squared, negative 4 squared, is 16. Minus 4 times 2, that's A, times C, which is negative 1. Very good, very good. Already I can tell that I'm going to have two real solutions, because negative times negative is a positive, so I'll have 16 plus 8. And then divided by 2 times A, which is 4. So this is 4 plus or minus the square root of 16. And what is this? Negative 8 times negative 1 is positive 8, so plus 8. And then divided by 4. So then I get, and I cannot reduce that yet because I have the plus or minus there. Okay, so it's not 4 over 4, it's 4 plus or minus, what's happening? 4 plus or minus this. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24. 24. I have these, okay. And I can't reduce this part because it's not 24 over 4, it's the square root of 24 over 4. So again, I'm going to reduce this radical, right? The square root, that would be 4 times 6. 4 times 6, yes, which is 2 squared times 6, yes, which is 2 squared times the square root of 6, okay, and that goes away. So I guess I got 2 root 6. So this is 4 plus or minus 2 root 6. Now I can reduce stuff. But the way I think maybe you might be, well, no, let's do it like this. If I'm going to reduce these, I have to do it at the same time. This is the same thing, remember, it's the same thing, let me do it in blue, as 4 over 4 plus or minus 2 root 6 over 4. So that means this is the same thing as 1 plus or minus the square root of 6 over 2. That's one way I could write it. Or I can get common denominators here. So like I could have common denominators times 2 times 2. So this would be 2 plus or minus the square root of 6, all divided by 2. So all of these are the correct answer. I would probably write it like this, or maybe like that. Either way, those are all the same thing. So we had to use the quadratic formula on this one. There we have it. Suppose we have something else. I guess that's okay. Yeah. Another quadratic equation problem. Okay, if x squared plus 6x plus c equals 0, has exactly one solution, or has one solution, what is c? We're trying to figure out c here. So this might be a little bit confusing. However, we have these three things, and it's talking about the discriminant here. This is called the discriminant. So the only situation where I have one solution is this one. So this must be equal to 0. That's what it's saying here. If x squared plus 6x plus c equals 0, if that has one solution, what is c? Well, the only case it could be is where this is true. So I'm going to write this down. That must be equal to 0. However, I have what b is. So that's 6 squared minus 4 times, I have what a is. A is just 1 times, well, I don't know what c is. Maybe I'll do that in blue. And then that has to be equal to 0. So now I can just solve for c. That's easy. That's 36 minus 4c equals 0. Minus 36. Minus 36. Negative 4c equals negative 36. Beautiful. Beautiful. I divide by negative 4. And I get c equals 9. So c has to be 9 for you to get to one solution. And that's because the discriminant would have to equal 0. And isn't that fancy? Isn't that fancy right there? Okay.